Thank you, Jesus. Thank you, everybody, this afternoon, and sorry for this hour. I usually take a nap, but today is different. So I hope that everybody can keep the eyes closed for this speech that I promise that it is going to be a short speech, sure. I could firstly thanks to Jesus and Dolores for the invitation to present this project. That is not my project. It's the project, maybe not this that you can see at the slide, but it's the project of my students that I could like the thanks because some of them are there, and it's very nice for me. Okay, the title of the presentation is ASTS, Art, Science, and Technology and Society, and Approaching Technoscience from Creativity. It's more or less the same title of my doctorate that I'm currently hope completing. And today I present only a little part of the innovation plan at the classroom that is the same that of my research at the doctorate, and in the first part of this presentation. And at the second part, I present a project that we did this school year, the past, with these students. It's a project for the European Space Agency. I stayed there in Oz for 1 week. And okay, then I will show. You can see a picture about the first year that I began with this innovation plan. You can see some artworks for my students on the 2008 and 2009 school year for a subject that the government decided to implement at the curriculum. The name is Science in the Contemporary World. It's a general science subject to try to improve the perspective, the scientific literacy for all the students, not only art students. Oh, sorry, my students are a student for the high school of arts. And they made with some chosen artworks an exhibition at the showroom at my art school. And what is the reason, or what I mean when I'm talking about art, science, technology, and society? But it's, I think every people knows science, technology, and society approach. This only to involve the art, but when I am talking about the art, it's not only art. Art is the big topic. You can understand that I'm talking about music, literature, poetry, humanities in general, to involve and to try to motivate my students on science and technology contents. That is the objective, is the main goal. And as an interdisciplinary way to work, I'm working on science classroom with a methodology that is the methodology that I tried to improve project-based learning, to work with projects, art and science, in the interaction of art and science, or in the interaction on science and art. And it's some question directing to catch, to learn with the interest of our students, with my students at the art school. Because I think mainly, if I am wrong, they can say, They will become artists, famous artists, sure. And this is a question that I take the interest for some different topic of the art to involve with content of science. Why not? No, it's a powerful tool. And why? Oh, 6 years ago, when it was my first year out of the school, I was doing some experience with another subject on maths, and I was sketching. I was looking for something wrong with the lacks of deficiencies of my students of the concept of science. In that case, on maths. And I think that some, maybe not all of my students are more present some lacks, some deficiencies and misconception on technology and scientific contents, or simply there is a knowledge about the science or some concepts of science and technology. They told me every year when the scholar year began, now, the next week, when I ask them that they dislike science in general, I test this question, and approximately 80% of all my students, the last year 140, say, I don't like the science, but I don't like some way of that the people touch me the science at the school. No, why? Maybe the methodologies, maybe the education, the formation of science teachers, and of course, because it's my problem, some limited time available at the classroom for science teaching, and okay, the secondary educational curriculum, but it's my opinion, because the first question for me is what's happening at the secondary school that when my students arrive at the classroom at the art school don't like. This is not possible. Science, technology are very interesting, I think. I don't know. I hope. So I was looking for some some methodology to engage them with his own learning. No, can to look for something, but how? How can I do this? How can we do this in Europe? I think it's a general problem. Europe is not only a problem. Then in every country there is some specific problems with the context, even regional problems. Okay, I try some things. I don't know. Okay. Here. There is a main goal that is the scientific literacy. And it's not my only my main objective. It's the objective of the educational administration, the government, 5 years ago. At least now I don't know what is the objective for this government. The curriculum of the subject, science in the contemporary world, and of course, when I pretend to begin with that innovation plan, I have to think in some general objective. I think scientific literacy is very important to create, to develop the democracy between the citizens, sure. So if we are waiting for citizens that are responsible with the science to take decisions, we need that this came to the school, to the classroom, because our students are citizens. You have to remember this every time, that they will be citizens every day, not only if they are studying science careers or technical careers. So, what's the best way to talk about different aspects? I don't know. I'm not sure. There are some advantages of technoscience, disadvantages, and another issues that you can use at the classroom to catch their interest of your students, and talk about the problems or no problems, discussion about science or technology, and other things. And the art is a tool, is a powerful tool, because, and this is my opinion, that nowadays science and the technology, of course, have a permanent challenge that is to communicate and to visualize research and advances. In the last 2-3 years, more or less, I've been in contact with some agents working in that way, say, it's important that all the days that produce the science, the advances of science, trying to communicate in a beauty way. Yeah, they have told me here there are institution that is starting to work now officially with a building. They say, how can we do this? We need the artist, the perspective, another perspective, and we think that this is very useful to put these days on a beauty way. Okay, because I have to use this. No, our art students can play an important role on designing instruments to do this, to transform the days, the information, in communication of science and technology. And for me and my classroom is a very important complement for the learning of my students, because I can take these expectations about the science and the art and link all of them and use to do another thing. I have another superior objective. I think that they can produce science too and technology in a different way, maybe helping to the science, to the people of science and technology, but they can, why not? Here you can see a picture of the 3 students from 3 years ago. The boy now is studying the 3rd year of the graphic design. The second girl, I think now is doing something in relation with the language, English language. And the third is studying the 3rd year of architectural design. Why I'm talking about this? Because many of them will continue the education on these subjects, and I have to use this, the interest then in try to catch the interest for science and technology. And something more. I think it doesn't mind if your students are of science or art. Only you can use this tool in a different way, but it is it's the same. It's mine, because all of them are citizens, or I think, yeah. Okay, this is the first part in relation with my research. Now I can say that the results are more or less positive. No, yeah, they are positive. I'm very happy, because I think I take the interest a little with some scientific and technological contents if you use the art with my students. And then they can hear and tell another thing if they want. And the second part is the concrete project for the European Space Agency. It's an example that how you can work with this. It's only a project for 2 weeks and a half, more or less, only with a small group that is completely different. And now we have, if you are a teacher, more or less 35 students at your classroom. It's different, but I think it's a good example to understand how I'm working with these concepts. No. Okay. It's a kind of music reaction. Uh, Thank you to Vitalik, it's a French music, for the music. I look for permission, sure. I call him tomorrow, maybe. This is a map, no? It's a map of Europe that I think everybody can recognize, but maybe the surface is a little different from the normal surface of Europe. This is the first artwork of this little project, small project, called 10 Years of Mars, 10 Years at Mars. And it's the artwork that they have made for this project. In this subject at the end of the school year, the last 2 weeks of the school year. I asked to all my students if there were somebody interested in this, and 10 of them say, okay, I'm very interested. Say, sure, can with me, and we are use the last 2 weeks of the school year to do this project. But what to do about the concepts of the space? First, you have to plan yourself, is ask what I know about the European Space Agency, because all the people knows about the Space Agency of the United States, NASA, no, all the people, but and in Europe, there is an European Space Agency. Yeah, there is an space. There are some time that you launch a space to the moon, or some spacecraft to Mars, but we spend money. That now there's a financial crisis here. How we can we explain this? The spend of money to your students, because this is important. This is a very important question. If you are at the classroom with a student that their parents are unemployed, you have to explain that your government is spending 4 or 5 euro millions in the space race. This is the first question. Not to interest your students. It's very important for your country to research in different topics. Say, oh, okay, yeah, I understand what you mean. Say you're a student. And say, okay, first, we go to the website of the European Space Agency to try to work with some questions. And 2 of them, I don't remember, 2 or 3 of them, and maybe Blanca, told me, why don't we work with the Aurora project? The Aurora project is a project of the European Space Agency about the travel to Mars and more things about this. Say, okay, but we only have 2 weeks, 2 weeks and a half to work with this. And we start thinking, they took decisions. This is very important, that in every project they take decisions. They, no me. Me, yes, but they too. and say, okay, why don't celebrate or make some project to celebrate the anniversary of the Mars Express spacecraft, the 10 year that is coming now this year. And they take pictures of the Mars Express and costuming the map of Europe in a different way, in a interesting beauty way. This is the new surface of Europe. Why not? 10 students, how I say, and with a main objective that is to learn, or was to learn about the space program, because it's important for the European to maintain this and to invest and spend money on the way of knowing what is important of the program. And how they work. Taking visual resources, pictures, and another question, because the website of the European Space Agency is really nice. I recommend to all the teachers. You can find there many resources to work with astrophysics experts and visual too. And I stayed there for 1 week, and I take some ideas on my mind to work this year. And they decide to use this resource to custom the map as a visual metaphor of the Europe at the space. This is the first artwork, the poster. And the second one, I have told you that many of them on the future maybe they develop his careers as a graphic designs or designs in general, not only graphic. So the decision was, why not we design a T-shirt? We can go to look if the European Space Agency have something similar. Yes, okay. You have to catch money for the space race, so you can buy this T-shirt only for 60 euros. 60, not 16, 60 euros. 60 or 70. Yeah, it's and a pullover only for 170 euros. And they say, okay, we can do a cheapest design of a T-shirt and sure more beauty than this. Because you work with the composition of the visual resources, and this is not a good composition. The other is the design of my students. That is very nice. Only for 15? Yeah, more or less 15 euros, cheapest. And what I do, or what they do with this. First, they work with scientific and technological contents, but then you can think that the science have some strict rules to work, and art and design too, of course. The designer are the most strictly people working with this. And the European Space Agency have a style guide, a book. Say, you can't do what you want. No, you have to use this typography, this print house, and you have to use this color, and you have to put this in this position, and you have to, but my students have a free mind. Say, okay, we read, they find the style guide at the website, and this is a good word, look for information, but then they decided, yes, we follow some rules, but another rules, no. And I say, I'm with you, okay? And the last one say, why not design a little sculpture as a trophy that the headmaster of European Space Agency can give to the President of the United States of America to say, you have a big space agency, but the European too. take this trophy to celebrate our Mars Express spacecraft, because it's a big hit for us. And now we have a great knowledge about the surface of Mars, and not only the surface. So we try to design, then finally we find a definitely model, and this more or less the shape of the spacecraft. I was talking about the shape of the spacecraft, the Mars Express, and it's very similar to the model that they have done. And it was the last award. 3 examples about a small project to work with hard to catch the interest of the students in a scientific and technological contest. I think I don't have to say anything else. I think it's really to understand how you can work sometimes in a very simple way, sometimes for another questions that are out of you in a difficult way. Thank you very much again for your invitation, Jesus and Dolores, and thank you to my students.
Okay. Thanks very much, Paco. Time for 1 or 2 questions.
I have left the last slide for the end, but because it's some conclusions and was the link between education, the innovation, and research. So you are doing every time education and innovation at the classroom, and with this you go to the research and come again to education, and all the time in a cycle.
Paco, you are working with a group of people where 2 things that could be connected but not obviously, that are in one hand the science literacy, and in the other hand the interest for science are important. I mean, you are involved in improving the scientific literacy of your pupils, but you think that interest in science is a tool, like Vladimir told us this morning. But are they always connected? And I'm not sure. And I think that if you have to choose, what will be the most interesting thing?
It's a very difficult question, sure. Jesus. Well, the first, I think now at the research on education, it's very difficult to separate. Was the scientific literacy the first at the classroom, and was the scientific literacy for the citizens? I think some researchers talk about one thing and another of another thing. This is the first. If I have to choose, I prefer the interest. Yeah, maybe the interest for science for my students in the future, they will go to the scientific literacy. It's very difficult because I only in this point of only 2 hours per week to do many things that I want, that they think are very interesting, and there's not enough time. I think the scientific literacy you obtain along all the school years and more. It's in only 1 year, it's impossible. But it's one of the main objectives of the government want to implement this subject to obtain the scientific literacy. Say, yeah, how? If you want to tell me how, I will do.
This is
the interest
point that interests me very much. I think I would try to to go into this question again in the round table. Any other question, please, Maria?
Hi, Paco. I wanted to know if you know any experience outside education, I mean a professional experience between artists and scientists. And I ask this because, well, in the Basque Country, we've done an attempt to create we call it hybridation table, to work together artists and scientists. And well, we haven't got any result yet, but it's true that, for instance, research, the most important research center in the Basque Country, which is physics, has contract and writer in order to manage a research project in literacy. But he's in a research center physics. That's the only result yet. But that's why I wanted to know if you know any professional experience or, well, real projects.
Yeah. Yeah. There are much, but not now. This is a question I researched for my document of the doctorate, because I had to look for the fundamentals of my degree. Now I've used for some project the example of an artist from Venezuela that he worked with the dark energy and dark matter at the CERN, the Central European Research, for the anniversary of Einstein, the relativity theory. This is only one example. He has worked for 40 years with scientific contents using iconic examples. He's from Venezuela, and he used the oil symbol of Venezuela, the petroleum, to talk about environment, to talk about energy. It's very important. He's a very important artist because he has play theater, literature, music, performance, painting, digital net art. Yeah, Rolando Peña is the name. But there are many, many examples, because you have to think that, for example, the Telefónica Foundation is working with this. There are a very important prize from 14 years, trying to link. In this case, I think it's more, not only, but I remember that the first prizes are from biology. Virtual reality and virtual biology. Eduardo Cac is a teacher from the Art and Design School of Chicago, and he is a very important artist in this question of the clonic, transgenic, and another question. If you are interested, I can, yeah.
Okay, thank you, Paco.
Thank you.